Have a good time, dear ladies and gentlemen. On this great opportunity, we would like to welcome all participants in the Ilomata International Conference 2020 with the theme, the COVID-19 Impact, Innovation and Recovery. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, praise is always be given to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for the blessing and guidance so that we can attend this Ilomata Conference 2020. Before we start the conference, let me inform all the agenda from morning until afternoon. The program will be started by recitation of the Holy Quran and prayer, National Anthem Indonesia Raya, continued by Ilomata Foundation Profile, welcome speech from founding father of Ilomata Foundation and General Chair of Ilomata Conference. Then Speaker 1, Speaker 2, Speaker 3, Speaker 4 will present their presentation and continued by question and answers. After that, there will be Indonesian traditional dance performance. Coming up next, Speaker 5, Speaker 6, Speaker 7 will present their presentation and continued by question and answer session. Then it will be continued by Mou of Article Publishing and the closing ceremony at about 12:15. We have about 40 minutes break and paper presentation from all presenters will be presented at 1 o'clock. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us start the conference by saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And the first agenda is recitation of the Holy Quran and prayer by Dian Wahyudin MSE. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Nggak serasa di AC-nya ini ya.
Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafil laili wan nahar واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار صدق الله العظيم.
Aku berlindung kepada Allah dari godaan syaitan yang terkutuk dengan menyebut nama Allah yang Maha Pengasih, Maha Penyayang. Dan milik Allah lah kerajaan langit dan bumi, dan Allah Maha Kuasa atas segala sesuatu. Sesungguhnya dalam penciptaan langit dan bumi dan pergantian malam dan siang terdapat tanda-tanda kebesaran Allah bagi orang-orang yang berakal, yaitu orang-orang yang mengingat Allah sambil berdiri, duduk, atau dalam keadaan terbaring. Dan mereka memikirkan tentang penciptaan langit dan bumi, seraya berkata, wahai Tuhan kami, tidaklah Engkau menciptakan semua ini sia-sia. Maha suci Engkau, lindungilah kami dari azab neraka. Maha benar Allah dengan segala firman-Nya. Mari seluruh partisipan kita angkat tangan kita seraya kita berdoa kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Semoga acara pada hari ini diberikan keberkahan oleh Allah Subhanahu wa taala dan dilancarkan sehingga bermanfaat untuk negara ini dan khususnya untuk kita semua. Astaghfirullahaladzim, astaghfirullahaladzim, astaghfirullahaladzim. Falakal hamdu ya Allah, ya karim, ya ma'bud, ya jawzadari wal ikram. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin fil awalin wal akhirin wa barik wa sallim wa radiyallahu ta'ala an kulli sahabati rasulillahi ajma'in. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi majidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu wa lakal syukru kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma Muhammad salatan tunajina biha min jamil ahwali wal afat wa taqdilana biha min jamil hajat wa tutahhiruna biha min jamil syai'at wa tarfa'una biha indaka 'adad darajat wa tuballighuna biha al-aqsal ghayat min jamil khairati fil hayati wa ba'da al-mamat innaka 'ala kulli syai'in qadir. Amin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inna kunna minadh dhalimin. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولوالدينا وارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم آمين اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من أجب جهنم ومن أجب القبر ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم افتح لنا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك من خزائن برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين وصلى على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وبارك وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. You are at home, but you can also sing Indonesia Raya, and you can also unmute if you would like to. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia Raya.
Ayo.
Mbak, kirim sama Mbak. Kirim dulu.
Ada suara.
Everybody can sing.
Antum pada
di Indonesia
jadi
pandu Indonesia,
bangsaku,
bangsa dan tanah air. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah
anakku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya, bangga dan nyata untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia merdeka, anak muda yang kucinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka,
Anakku, negeriku yang kucinta.
Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia
Raya.
Thank you for singing together National Anthem Indonesia Raya. And the next agenda, we are going to watch Ilomata Foundation Profile. Yeah, okay. We are still waiting for admin operating the video of Ilomata Foundation profile. Yeah, Ilomata Foundation is located at Pangkalan Asam Raya Street, number 55, Jakarta, or this is located in Central Jakarta. And here is the foundation board: Professor Dr. Safri Nurmantu, Dr. Haji Muhammad Syahrial Yusuf, and Dr. Panji Hendrarso MM, also Ibu Sri Martani Esos. Executive board are Dr. Andes Amrullah Satoto, Dr. Andes Jaka Permana, MSc PhD, Ibu Popi Nurmanto, MSOS, MSc. And the advisory board, Fahri Effendi, SA, MSc. And here is the logo of Yayasan Ilomata, Jakarta. And we have also Ilomata International Journal. You can see here, this is the building of Institute Stiami that is located in Central Jakarta. And our mission is the vision and mission to organize and develop the leading ethic and moral and education, creating, developing, and disseminating the meaningful and beneficial knowledge to both national and international community.
Ini nggak kayak ini, kayak Google. Kalau Google Meet kita ini apa? Bisa langsung live. Ini aja kali ya, ini aja ya. Ya. Nyala nggak?
Yeah, that's Ilomata Foundation profile. And on behalf of the committee, we are very sorry because the sound was not able to hear by everyone. So we are going to continue for the next program. The next program is welcome speech from the founding father of Ilomata Foundation, Professor Dr. Safri Nurmantu. Time is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, let us thanks to the God Almighty that give us chance to meet this morning. And then I would like to appreciate our speaker from any other part of the world, from USA, from Japan, from Thailand, New South Wales, Malaysia. And I hope the warmth of your welcome will compensate for whatever shortcomings there may be, including our technical problem just now. Next, I would like to thanks to Mr. Amrullah Satoto, the chairman of Ilomata Foundation, who initiated and sponsored this international seminar in the form of Ilomata Journal International. And also I want thanks to Dr. Noviandari Rulandari, the management of the IIJ, Ilomata International Journal. Ladies and gentlemen, I think coronavirus has become an international disaster. Our theme this morning and also many seminars has held same view with us. But the main point, I think, is how to decrease the spread of this coronavirus, to decrease or at least or to stop this virus. Based on my preliminary research, based on secondary data and observation, I found at least 6 phenomena. First is many people don't aware the danger of go out without mask. The second one is maybe in Indonesia, I don't know, in Thailand or in Japan, yeah, they can stop the virus. In Indonesia, the lack of medical equipment in hospital. The third is the lack of doctors and nurses. The fourth is the lack of medicine, maybe. And the very important thing is the effective of vaccine has not been yet innovated. This is the main problem. And the last one, the sixth, is the local and also the central government has not been effective to control people who not aware the danger of coronavirus. Based on this, my observation, my preliminary research, I'm sorry I have to present it, maybe it's too early, but I have to say that I have 5 hypotheses in quantitative approach. The first is the implementation that is done of well awareness of health protocol will decrease the spread of coronavirus. The second one, the availability of complete medical equipment and medicine in the hospital will decrease the spread of coronavirus disaster. The third, the availability of doctors and nurses, male or female, in hospital will decrease of spread of coronavirus disaster. Very important things that we are waiting now from the National World Health Organization is the vaccine. The role, the innovation effective vaccine in coronavirus has not been innovated. We are very sorry about it. And the last one, the role of local and central government control people not aware of health protocol will decrease or stop the spread of this disaster. For you that interested in qualitative approach, you can use tabula rasa or theory as a lens to make discussion with informant, and I hope you will find what is the effective, what is the effective means to decrease or ya Allah to stop this virus disaster. May God bless us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The next agenda is welcome speech from General Chair of Ilomata Conference, Dr. Novianita Rulandari. Time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Asti. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and best wishes for all of us. The Excellency, Mr. Professor Dr. Safri Nurmantu, Ilomata Foundation Board. The Excellency, Mr. Dr. Muhammad Sahrial Yusuf, Ilomata Foundation Board. The Excellency, Ms. Sri Martani, Ilomata Foundation Board. And the Excellency, Mr. Amullah Satoto, Chairman of the Ilomata Foundation Management. The Excellency, Mr. Jaka Permana, PhD, the Secretary of Ilomata Foundation. The Excellency, Ms. Poppy Nurmantu, the Treasurer of Ilomata Foundation. And the Excellency, Mr. Fahri Effendi, the Supervisor Board of Ilomata Foundation. The Excellency, Mr. Dr. Panji Hendrarso, Director of Stiami Institute. The Excellency, all institutional of Stiami, respectable all lecturers of Stiami Institute, respectable all staff of Stiami Institute, honorable all speakers today, Mr. Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi from Stiami Institute, Indonesia, Mr. Professor Dr. Sida Chandra from Michigan State University, USA, Ms. Akiko Horiba, PhD, from Tokyo Institute of Technology, Sasakawa Peace Foundation, Japan. Miss Associate Professor Dr. Elvira Sojli from University of New South Wales, Australia. Mr. Associate Prof. Dr. Mutia Sobiha from Sultan Zainal Abidin University, Malaysia, and Mr. Dr. Bambang Irawan from Stiami Institute, then Dr. Niko Irawan from Raja Mangala University of Technology, Krungtep, Thailand. Honorable Dr. Randa Yunip Mujati Suaida, Head of Economic College PGRI Dewantara Jombang, and Dean of Faculty Economy Universitas Serang Raya, and all participants today. First of all, let's praise to the presence of God Almighty, which already given us opportunity and health, so we can meet in the international conference today. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays we are facing the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. It has affected almost all countries in the world. The effect has inflicted in several life areas, such as social, economy, financial, management, and taxation, and so on. Currently, all countries that affected by COVID-19 virus trying to overcome the outbreak and its impact. Then it makes a question as follows: how the impact of COVID-19 virus to the countries that has affected? Then how these countries innovate to overcome the outbreak of COVID-19 virus? And how the recovery efforts in each those countries. This makes a big question for all of us. From those problems, we need to share and discuss about the COVID-19 impact, innovation, and recovery. Therefore, we present the speakers from 5 countries that is expected to represent from the current world condition. We hope that international conference today can provide new knowledge and information to all participants. In addition, it also generates scientific journals sourced from experts as well as students all over the world. This international conference is an initiative from Mr. Amrullah Satoto as the chairman of Ilomata Foundation Management. This initiative arose because his concerns over the COVID-19 virus, which befell almost the entire country and not live away until now. Therefore, the Ilomata Foundation, through a research publication named Ilomata International Journal, wanna contribute to facilitate the development of sciences. Hence, I would like thanks and appreciate to Mr. Amrullah Satoto for the initiative and idea of conducting this event. Then to Mr. Professor Safri Nurmantu, Ilomata Foundation Board for permitting the implementation for this event. And to Mr. Dr. Panjiri Hendraso, Director of Stiami Institute, who has supported this conference. To all speakers who have taken the time to share their knowledge and information, and to all researchers who have contributed to deliver scientific work. The last, please enjoy to join the international conference today. Hopefully it will give benefits to us. Thank you. Your nice attention, and wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to come to the international conference speech. And for the first session, there will be 4 speakers. And first will be given by Professor Dr. Elvira, and then Professor Sida Chandra, and Akiko Horiba PhD, and Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi. For 4 speakers, I hope you are ready. And the first one is going to be given to Professor Elvira. While Professor Elvira is giving a presentation, and I hope if everyone is going to ask questions, you can write down the questions in a chat column. And when other presenters are giving a presentation, after that, Dr. Elvira is going to give the answer at the end of the session of 4 speakers. So question and answer session will be given after 4 speakers given their presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start for the first keynote speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Elvira, we would like to read her CV. Elvira is an Associate Professor of Finance and Scientific Fellow in the School of Banking and Finance, the University of New South Wales. Her current work tries to understand the role of determinants of women's participation in innovation. She's particularly interested in the international aspect of differences across countries and disciplines. Her previous work has focused on international certificate will be shared and it's going to be sent by email very soon. And here is the certificate that is going to be awarded to Associate Professor Dr. Elvira Sotri.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please. We would like to remind you, all participants, if you are going to give questions later, you can unmute, but question and answer will be given later. But I think when the speaker 2 is going to give a presentation, questions can be given by chat. So the first speaker can read your questions and it can be answered at the question and answer session. Ya, saya jelaskan sebentar pakai bahasa Indonesia. Untuk pertanyaan-pertanyaan pembicara 1, silahkan di chat dan nanti akan dijawab pada saat sesi tanya-jawab setelah pembicara keempat. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue the second speaker and we would like to invite Professor Sida Chandra. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Sida Chandra. Before he gives a presentation, let me read a brief about his educational background. Professor Sida Chandra got his BA in economics with summa cum laude from Brandeis University in 1991. AM in economics, PhD, passed in 1992, qualifying exams, University Chicago in 1993, and PhD in economics, Cornell University, 1997. And at the moment, Professor Sida Chandra is a director, Asian Studies from 2009 until now. He's working at James Madison College, Michigan State University, USA. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to welcome Professor Sida Chandra. Time is yours.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I am here.
Okay, are you with us, Mr. Sida Chandra?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay.
very clearly. Okay, now you can
I think everybody got muted and I also got muted. So sorry about that.
Right, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see my slideshow?
Yes, I can see. We can see.
So the title of my talk is Lessons from the 1918 Influenza Pandemic for the COVID-19 pandemic, a historical perspective from Indonesia and Michigan. And thank you for the kind introduction. I would like to say just one additional word. In addition to my training in economics, and I really enjoyed the prior presentation, I do have an appointment in epidemiology and biostatistics at Michigan State University. And I thought that today I would give my talk more on the side of epidemiology so that we can understand a little bit about how the epidemic is spreading around the world and what some of the implications are of the epidemic. And one of the things you may have seen in the news is that when people think about the COVID-19 pandemic, many of them are looking back to a pandemic of influenza that occurred about 100 years ago and went all around the world. Unfortunately, Indonesia was one of the countries that was affected by the 1918 influenza pandemic. And I've done some research on that subject. So I thought I would start by sharing some of my findings on Indonesia in 1918 with you, and then talking a little bit about some of the research that we've done in Michigan in the United States, where I'm currently making the presentation from, and then think about what does this mean for the COVID-19 pandemic. So let me start by telling you a little bit about the 1918 influenza pandemic. And it has been called by some epidemiologists as the mother of all pandemics. And the reason they call it the mother of all pandemics, there are two reasons really. Number one is it was a very big pandemic. The global death toll was about 50 million. So it killed about 50 to 100 million people around the world. And let me just change the color of my highlighter. Let's make it bagaimana kalau biru ya, boleh? Okay, so it's known as the mother of all pandemics because it killed about 50 million people around the world. But also many of the later influenza pandemics that happened in the world, including one in 2009, was caused by a virus that was a descendant of the 1918 influenza. It was a global pandemic, and it circled the world in different places. It came up in one wave or two waves or three waves or even four waves. And maybe, I think in some of the newspapers in Indonesia now, people are talking about another wave of influenza. In Java alone, where I think most of you are today, my estimate in my research is that over 4 million people were lost to the pandemic, not only by virtue of deaths from the infection, but also there were fewer babies being born. And for many other reasons, we see a loss in population of about 4 million. Now, one of the areas in which we've done some research is how did the pandemic enter Indonesia and how did it spread? And we did this work some time ago, and it's very interesting to see in the COVID-19 pandemic, people are talking about the same things once again. So did the 1918 pandemic enter Indonesia through particular locations? And the answer is yes, and we know where it entered. How did it spread across Indonesia? I'll show you some maps that we've created that talks about the spread. And then what were some of the factors with which the pattern of spread was associated? So I'll start by talking about Indonesia, and then I'll move on to some other questions. So most people believe today that the entry point in Indonesia was actually through Sumatra Utara. And the way it entered was from Malaysia. So if you remember, well, maybe we weren't alive at the time, but in the early 20th century, Malaysia was a British colony. And the British were fighting the First World War in Europe at about that time in 1918. And many soldiers from India and other British colonies, including Malaysia, were in Europe fighting on behalf of the British. When this First World War ended, a lot of these troops came back. and they came back to their homes in India and Malaysia. They came back to their homes by ship, and unfortunately, some of them brought the infection. Now, the Netherlands, which was the colonial power that was running Indonesia at the time, was not actively involved in the First World War. It was a neutral country. But unfortunately, because it was next door to Malaysia, most people believe that the virus entered Indonesia across the Strait of Malacca, from Penang and from a couple of other places in Malaysia into Sumatra Utara. So the colonial network was a very important network in causing the spread of the pandemic into Indonesia. The other thing we know is a little later, a few months later actually, the virus entered Java, where most of you are located. And of course, as you might expect, it came from the northern coast. So we know that the northern coast of Java is where the large cities are. That's where the shipping comes into Indonesia. And unfortunately, the pandemic also entered Indonesia through the north coast. The earliest places to see cases of influenza were Jakarta, which in those days was known as Batavia, and also Semarang. And both of these places were very important centers also for the government of the Netherlands East Indies. So I just wanted to show you a map to give you an idea about what happened during the 1918 influenza pandemic. And what you see is what I'm showing you here is, if you see, so these are all the different kabupaten. In those days, they were known as regencies. But these are 4 maps of Java. The first map is October 20th, 1918. The second is November 1918. The third is December. And the fourth is January. And what you can see is the entry points into Java are Jakarta, Batavia in those days, and also the area around Semarang. These are the first kabupaten to see the wave of the infection. And from these areas, it spread. As you can see, it's peaking. If you see a dark color, it means the pandemic has reached its peak. If you see a lighter color, it's still bad, but it's not the peak. And then if you see white, it's not one of the peak weeks in that kabupaten. So what you can see here is Bandung has become infected. You can see Surabaya. You can see the Yogyakarta area. You can see Sleman, Kulon Progo, a couple of other places here as well are getting the infection in November, a few weeks after the entry. And then from there, it goes to the more remote areas of Java. For those of you who know the geography of Java, we know that the Pantai Selatan is a little bit more remote. Fewer people live there, a little bit out of the way. And also there are areas of Jawa Tengah in the area in Temanggung, in those areas, Wonosobo, that are a little more remote. They get the disease last. Also Lumajang and places in the Gunung Raung area. And then finally, the most remote areas get it by January. Now, the other very interesting thing that we discovered is there's a very interesting study of Kabupaten Magelang. And so we did a little bit of a study on how the influenza spread throughout the Kabupaten of Magelang. And there are a few important points, as you probably know from the geography of Java. Magelang is not very far from Yogyakarta. And Yogyakarta got the infection first. And the pandemic caused food shortages in Yogyakarta. And so many people, especially from the Sleman area, which is near Magelang, they started going north on the, you probably know, those of you who are from Jawa Tengah, there's a main road going from Yogyakarta to Magelang via Muntilan. So people from Yogyakarta started going up the road along towards Muntilan to the different pasars searching for food. And they are most likely the people who took the infection into Magelang and caused it to spread over there. So we see the pandemic spreading along the major roads in the Magelang Kabupaten. And just to give you an illustration, there was a Dutch health officer who actually made some observations which are very relevant for today. And he said, with few exceptions, it appears that the outbreak starts close to the large markets, to the pasars, and develops around them. And this is very important because everybody knows the markets, which thousands of people visit twice a week, swarming very close together. This presents a perfect opportunity to allow the infection to spread quickly and effectively. So this should sound very familiar to you. And as somebody who has studied the 1918 pandemic now for 10 years, the number of things I'm seeing in the COVID-19 pandemic that remind me of 1918, it's just one thing after another. To give you an example, the most recent thing, a piece of news, and this is, I think, something that you may want to spread to your friends and families. Now, pregnant women are considered to be especially at risk as well from COVID-19 for developing serious disease. This was very recently announced in the United States. But if we had studied the 1918 pandemic, you would have known this a long time ago, because in 1918, pregnant women were among the most vulnerable populations for infection and mortality due to the virus. But let me now show you a little bit about what happens in Magelang. So this is a map of the Magelang Kabupaten, and down here to the south, you have the road Jalan Yogyakarta, and over here, of course, is the road to Purworejo. Up here is the road to Semarang, and up here is the road to Temanggung. And what I'd like to show you now, I'm going to advance this map week by week and show you what is happening along the roads in the Magelang Kabupaten. So in the first week, we see there are two major pasar areas along the road that get the infection. So we see cases. If you see a small circle, it means that there are cases detected. And if you see a big circle, it means that the health officials have declared the place to be a center from where it is spreading, okay? So in the first week, Muntilan and Magelang show some infections. In the second week, it spreads out to some other pasars that are a little more remote, but still not very far from Muntilan and Magelang. And they're a little bit away from the main road. In the third week,
3 more minutes.
Some initial places have become major centers of spread. And now we see the pandemic is spreading along the road down to Purworejo as well. In the following week, it has now become much more widespread in the Kabupaten. It has entered some of the more remote mountainous areas, all the way up to the road going to Temanggung. And then finally, there are other areas that become centers of spread. And then in the last week, the most remote areas, Ngablak, Pakis, which are way up in the mountains, far away from everything, they end up getting infections. Okay, let me now switch to one other thing. I believe I have a total of 15 minutes and maybe I have about 5 minutes more. So let me now talk about Berapa, Abu?
2 more minutes.
Or Dua, okay. So I'll just explain two other things. When we think about epidemiology, one of the simplest models that we use to think about epidemics is we take people and we put them into different categories. So one category is people who are susceptible, who do not have the infection yet, and who are still have no immunity. The susceptible people, some of them get exposed to the virus and become infectious, and then they infect other people. And after they infect them, they themselves recover, or unfortunately, in some cases, they die from the disease. Right? So keep this in mind. When we think about epidemics, there are different people in different stages: susceptible, infectious, recovered. What I want to emphasize here is this is important when we think about the COVID-19 pandemic, but also the 1918 influenza. So I want to show you what happened in Michigan next. I'll skip this slide because we don't have much time, but this is a graph of deaths that we can attribute to influenza in the US state of Michigan, where I live today. And what I want you to pick up from this is, in Michigan, we had our first wave of deaths in March 1918. We had a second wave in October 1918. We had a third wave in December 1918. And then everybody thought that the pandemic had ended. But unfortunately, it had not, because 1 year later, in 1920, Michigan actually had its worst wave. Okay, so the important point I want to make here is the influenza pandemic in Michigan lasted for 2 years. It was not a 2-month or a 3-month or a 4-month thing. It was a 2-year thing. And why did this happen? This happened mainly because even after these big waves in 1918, even after all of this, there were still many people left who were susceptible. They had not had the infection, they had no immunity, and there was no vaccination at the time. People didn't know what was causing this disease, that it was a virus, okay? So I'm going to skip these two slides also. These actually show what happened in some of the counties of Michigan. There was a statewide social distancing, a lockdown that was imposed in the different counties of Michigan in October 1918. It was relaxed in November 1918. And one of the counties, which was on the western side of Michigan, had a big wave after that. But the counties that had early waves, because everybody had already got infected and was immune, when they relaxed this restriction, they did not have another wave. So I just want to show you some of the dynamics of the epidemics. And very similar things are happening today with COVID-19. Okay, this is the 1920 wave. I'll skip it for now. I want to go straight to the lessons. So the lessons I want to leave you all with today is, first of all, the 1918 influenza pandemic came in multiple waves. It was not one wave. Second, the virus in different waves infected remaining pools of susceptible people. And today, even today, there are many people who are still susceptible because many of us have not yet had the infection. The other important point is the pandemic lasted for 2 full years. It was not a 3-month or a 4-month or even a 1-year epidemic. And the worst of all, perhaps, the 4th wave, at least in Michigan, was the worst wave. It was the most severe wave of them all. So what does this mean in terms, because I think most of you are probably interested in economics, and I'm an economist too. A lot of people have been talking about a V-shaped recovery. So we'll have the pandemic, the economy will fall, but then it will come back again like a shaped V. Unfortunately, I don't think this will happen. I think there will be multiple cycles of restriction on movement, and then relaxation, and more infections, and more restriction. This will have a series of impacts on the economy. It will not be a one-time impact. It will be one shock, then people will start working, then it'll be another shock. And this will continue to happen either until a vaccine is developed or until enough people are infected. And right now we are not even close to it. We live in big countries, very few people have been infected, until enough people are infected and we develop a herd immunity. And the final lesson is, for this reason, whatever we have learned from this past wave that has just happened, wave 1, will be very useful for us. We need to remember them when these subsequent waves emerge, because I think more waves are going to emerge. So thank you very much. Here are some of the publications that we have made recently on the 1918 influenza pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Siddharth. And everybody give applause to our speaker. Thank you very much. And I'm impressed that you can mention several cities in Central Java very fluently. You know lots of cities in Indonesia. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I have to see the doctor. So may I resign for a while?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much for coming to this event. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to inform you again, for you who are going to give questions for Professor Siddharth, then you can write down in a chat column, and later in a question and answer session, Professor Siddharth is going to give some questions. And now we are going to give virtual certificate award to Professor Siddharth Chandra. Here is a certificate for Professor Siddharth Chandra. And this certificate is going to send by email very soon.
Terima kasih kepada semua dan Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Again, thank you very much for your speech. Ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to continue for the third keynote speaker. And the third keynote speaker is Akiko Horiba, PhD. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Akiko Horiba, PhD. Before she gives a presentation, let me inform you about our CV. Dr. Akiko Horiba is a program director and senior program officer of Asia Peace Initiative Department at the Sasakawa Peace Foundation, or SPF, with a focus on Southern Thailand, women's political participation in Asia, and strengthening civil society networks in Southeast Asia. She's also a lecturer at Tokyo Institute of Technology. She received a doctorate in area studies, Indonesia, Conflict Analysis from Sophia University, Japan, and a Master of Theological Studies at Western Jesuit School of Theology, Massachusetts, USA. Before joining the SPF, she worked as a policy secretary for the House of Representatives. Her research interests are conflict analysis, peace building, and Southeast Asia politics. She has many publications, including The Lesson Learned, the Malino Peace Agreement, and the Maluku Conflict Indonesia, the Journal of Soviet Asian Studies 2015, Cause of Patani Conflict, History, Religion, and Politics in Middle East and Islamic World, Japanese Chapter 11, Akiko 2018, Conflict in Deep South Thailand, Patani, Renaissance between International Politics and Area Studies, Japanese, Chapter 5. And now, let's welcome Akiko Horiba, PhD.
Assalamualaikum, selamat siang. Can you hear me? And can you see my presentation? Yes? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, you can.
Great. Thank you very much for your introduction also. And actually, I'm usually teaching about political science or conflict analysis or peace building issues. But today, I just want to share about Japan. So no, this is not an academic paper or academic analysis, but just I wanted to show, or I wanted to share with you about Japanese situation related to COVID-19. And then maybe you can see, you can reflect, you can compare with the Indonesian situation and the Japan situation. So anyway, so far, the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 total 30,000, cases. And then death toll around 1,000 people. But many people say that Japanese population is around 120 million, so 10th in the world. So people say that Japan actually not so many death toll related COVID-19. So I wanted to share with you just my reflection why Japan is not really like America or like Italy, But anyway, first I wanted to show the chronological event related to COVID-19. The first infected person in Japan was January 16th, a Chinese man actually. But as you see that the Diamond Princess cruise ship arrived to Yokohama Harbor, then the many passengers are actually infected corona. So it was a kind of big issue in Japan. Maybe you see the news, no? And then the first death of the infected woman, actually she was around 80 years old, very old ladies, but the first one was February. Since then, started a lot of, infection of the COVID-19, and in the March 2nd, elementary school, middle school, and high school across all Japan were requested to temporary closure. So I think that Indonesia also happened like that around that time. But we started March, early March. And maybe you remember, or maybe you already forgot, but actually this year, we will have a Tokyo Olympic, but already because of the COVID-19, they say the postponed for a year, but we don't know yet. Maybe next year, but let's see. We will have Olympic or Paralympic, next year. Then the April 7th declare a state of emergency in 7 prefectures. After that, April 16th has a state of emergency all over Japan. But you see that started the state of emergency is in April. So many people are criticizing it's too late. I can see that very similar in Indonesia also. Then finally, then extended the state of emergency again until May 31st. But we finally lifted the state of emergency 25th May. So then we thought that Corona was, calm down, and then maybe we can have a new normal life, and then we can start to have a more economical activities. But again, we started to have a second wave. You can see all over the world, but Japan also now kind of serious second wave started. So I wanted to show also a little bit of the government response. So the unique one is the government, central government send us the cloth mask, this one. We call Abe mask because it is Prime Minister Abe always wear, and then it's actually very small. So everybody actually laughing because, why government send us this small mask, But anyway, at that time, it was really difficult to get the mask. So some of the people really happy to get this mask. But anyway, from the government response, we got the mask. And then also we have a special cash payment of 10,000 yen. So around 10 juta Indonesian rupiah per person. So all the people stay in Japan and then registered basic residence registration system, they can get 10 juta. Kira-kira 10 juta Indonesia rupiah. So even foreigners, also everyone stay in Japan. Because of the economical crisis, started, and then many people are suffering. And also there are so many programs supporting sustaining business. But for me, there are too many schemes or too many programs sustaining business. So people are actually confusing which one is loan, which one is a subsidy, or which one is, and then we have to make a lot of documents. So it takes a long time to get the money. So it's kind of big confusion. So this is people are criticizing of that too. And then also, actually, we started the kind of second wave of Corona, but the government started to have go-to travel campaign. It is also people are criticizing, actually stimulating the tourism industry in Japan. So government wanted to support the travel fee for everyone. But because of the second wave, people are really worried about why now, So that is also the big criticism to the government. But as we see in Indonesia also, but Japan also, local government has kind of, a lot of support from the people. Then I wanted to show a little bit that about Japanese behavior, because people are seeing that why Japan don't have a lot of coronavirus. Maybe because related with the Japanese behavior. For example, is we usually wear mask, but Japanese often wear the mask, face mask, during the winter season because we have a lot of allergy of the pollen. So try to protect from pollen, no? But also we try to avoid or to prevent catching a cold or influenza. So during the winter season, the cold season, we put the mask. And also because too cold in the weather, so we avoid from the cold weather, cold wind, and we use the mask. It's a little bit different with Indonesia because Indonesia has a lot of air pollution and we wear mask, right? But in Japan, because during the, especially winter season, we wear mask. So when started the coronavirus, COVID-19, usually many of the Japanese wear the mask because it was winter season. And also Japan, it's really kind of common to wash hands, and gargling. So every school, elementary school until high school, we have a wash station, washing station. So since the children, we really, educate to wash the hand. That is also many people say that somehow, the protect by corona. And some elementary school is playing a song of the washing hand. Not only just washing hand, just a few seconds. We have to say, we say that more than 20 seconds we have to wash the hand, you know, to protect from the COVID-19. So I don't know, but people start to say maybe this is also good effect. But another thing is physical distance. We usually don't hug, don't kiss, not often shaking hand. So we usually only bow, like what I show you, the pictures, you know. And then also in the train, we don't usually talk so much. Be silent and just stay in the train. Also, we don't talk loudly in the restaurant too. Of course, we talk, but not so talk loudly. And also, we always maintain a physical distance, our daily lives. So if compared to other cultures. So that is also somehow, the first wave was not really high. Not like America, not like Italy, not like Spain, you know. Of course, we don't know this is somehow related or not, but just I wanted to show you. And another one is also peer pressure. This is actually not good, you know. Now we have to have our own idea and we have to say, speak out. But usually Japanese are so timid, and then we are not accustomed to doing something differently from one another, you know. Then we see the friends, what they are doing, and we follow. So we tend to follow peer pressures. So that's why we comply with the government request. Actually, we don't have any penalties, any fine, but we just follow what government said, no? Very, we can say obedience, but we just follow, you know? So government says stay home and people stay home, you know? Not everyone, of course, but the majority follow the government request. And also even we have a self-restraint police, not police, but the normal people harass to the other neighbors if they don't follow, comply with stay home request. So that is also, of course, not good phenomena, but that's why, because people are afraid to go out because other one criticize me, no? That's peer pressure also, something effect. And now we call sanmitsu in Japan, sanmitsu o sakeru, we call in Japanese. But anyway, avoid the 3 C's: closed spaces, crowded places, close contact. No, I'm sure that Indonesia also say this, but we really care, you know, this. Every day we talk, we check. This is sanmitsu, so we have to avoid this. Oh, we have to be far, otherwise this is sanmitsu, you know. So everyone talk about sanmitsu, sanmitsu. So this is a really happening. So for example, in the train, even we have AC, air conditioner, but we open the window in the train because we need a ventilation, you know? So that kind of things. This is not related to sanmitsu, but we also somehow wanted to be a very clean room, right? And then we take off the shoes. That also somehow affect taking off the shoes. So all the coronavirus stay in the floor. So we also, you know, wipe all the time the floor. That's also, someone say that it's also good for protect from the coronavirus. But we do all those things, but increasing the number of confirmed cases every day right now, because we started to go out. Government don't say stay home. Now, because of the economy, you have to go out and do some economical activities. So we have a second wave right now. So that's why we really don't know how to do to prevent the coronavirus and then corona protections. But so far, the death toll in Japan is around 1,000 only. So it might help those behaviors. And then I just also wanted to say about the Japanese society and related with COVID, but that's also for future, some of the Asian countries also facing. So Japan actually had a serious problem. This is before the COVID-19, that it was aging society and declining population. I told you that now we have 120 million populations in Japan, but decreasing dramatically. So, but a lot of elder people in Japan. So related with Corona, people say that old people are more likely to have serious symptoms of COVID-19, but we don't know why the death toll is not that high, like America or Italy. But anyway, we are very worried about elderly people got affected, the coronavirus. And then not because of only elderly people are too many, but you may think Japan is very much high technology, or IT is developed. But in the reality, information technology or information communication and technology education, ICT education, implementation was very slow. So we are still using fax to collect the data. Maybe not exist fax in Indonesia, but in Japan, every company, every, the government office has a fax. So people still using hand, writing, and fax to collect some data, So that is really, how to say, we realize because of the COVID, we realize actually our IT implementation is very slow. And then because of the COVID-19, we finally see that the Japanese society vulnerability. For example, I told you the declining the population. So the number of foreign workers decreased during COVID-19. So they had a plan to come to Japan, but because of the COVID-19, they could not come to Japan. So especially agriculture or service industries are experiencing labor shortage, So people expected to welcome foreign workers to work for the agricultural field, but because of the COVID-19, no people, so shortage. But interesting is at the same time, there are a number of people who has lost their job during this, the COVID-19 because of the economic downturn, So especially single parents household, foreign workers, or students, and especially part-time job student or workers are really suffering because of the economic downturn. So there are no much. Some of the field, the labor shortage, but many of the people lost the job. So Japan could not really match with their needs, and then their shortage also. So that is also economically, we had a big problem. And as you see, maybe that Japan's financial problem are, of course, very serious. Because of the COVID-19, the government obviously subsidized a lot of money to the people, especially to help the business persons, business field. But we, Japan, also don't have a lot of money, a lot of debt. So financial problem is always there. So COVID-19 has highlighted the issues and problems that Japan already faced. So I'm sure that Indonesia also, that we know there is a problem, but we could not see always. But because of the pandemic, COVID-19, those problems emerged, and then we highlighted those issues, then we recognize the problem more deeply. So this is finish my presentation. So just I hope that we can reflect together what really happens in the society and what is the vulnerability, what is the problem, what is the issue, already faced in your country and my countries, then we can, share the knowledge and the information, and then, the common thread, common problem. I hope we can solve it together, the problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Give applause to Akiko, everyone. Okay, and we are going to continue by giving certificate. And please show the certificate. And yes, here is a certificate awarded to Akiko Horiba, PhD.
Terima kasih banyak.
Sama-sama. And it will be sent by email very soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Yeah, as usual, please write down some questions in a chat column if you want to have some questions to the third speaker. Thank you very much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue to the next speaker, and we would like to invite Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi, APMSI. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi, APMSI. Before he starts giving a presentation, let me read his brief CV. He graduated from STPDN in 1998, and his magister is in the field of sociology, University of Indonesia, 2002, and completed the doctoral program in 2008 from Pajajaran University. At the moment, he's working at the House of Representatives of the Republic of Indonesia. He's a research professor in political sociology at the Research Center for the Indonesian Parliament Expertise Body, lecturer of postgraduate at STIAMI and also IPDN. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Dr. Muliadi. Time is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon all. I respect the speakers and participants of the virtual international seminar. Previously, I apologize. I'm sorry because I could not attend this international conference until it was finished because I was researching in the field. Next. Lanjut. Operator. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the theme of our seminar today is the impact of innovation and recovery COVID-19. On this happy occasion, I want to start with the concept of social capital to do with new normal era. Why is interesting and important? Because the concept of social capital actually arises from the thought that members of the community not be able to individually overcome the various problems encountered. Good togetherness and cooperation is needed from all members of the community who are interested in overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic. So one dimension of social capital is cooperation. So in my opinion, without a good social capital, we would not have been able to throw this new normal well. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, in the opinion of some experts who have been consulted about social capital, including Elinor Ostrom, James Coleman, Robert Putnam, Francis Fukuyama, etc. There are at least 3 dimensions of social capital, namely trust, norms, and network. Ladies and gentlemen, In the dimension of trust, the government must convince the public that we can get through this well, because if trust in society increases, whatever public policies set by the government, including this new normal policy, will be followed by the community consciously and responsibly. So if public trust increases, then any policy set by the government will be followed by the community with a sense of responsibility. In the norms and network dimension, with good habits among the community, it is hoped that a collaboration network will be facilitate the government in implementing various policies that involve the community. So norms that make people want to work together. Next, lanjut. Ladies and gentlemen, on the new normal variable, from the various sources that I have studied, there are 3 dimensions of new normal. They are interrelated, namely adaptation, activity, and behavior change. Thus, based on this dimension, it can be explained the human activities during the new normal era must adapt to various health protocols that require humans to change their behavior. So changing behavior is absolute. For example, if previously physical distancing was not something that should be done by everyone, then resolve this virus pandemic, we must do that. Lanjut, next. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at poverty conditions during the COVID-19 pandemic, so we see poverty data in various countries, especially poor countries and even developing countries, because according to the latest data, before the phenomenon of the coronavirus becomes a pandemic, poverty rates increased, including in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know in various theories, explain the poverty can be in the position of the cause variable and the result variable. When does it become a cause variable? If poverty results in criminality committed by someone, and want to be an effect variable, if a person does not have a job, he has no source of income, and result in the inability to meet basic needs, such as food, clothing, shelter, education, and health. Well, in various sources in the media, in accordance with the prediction made by the expert mentioned, that the potential for increasing the poor population is huge. Even if we read a report from the World Bank entitled Inspiring Indonesia, Expanding the Middle Class, it says the Indonesian people who have already left the poverty line are still vulnerable to poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, now if we agree that linear poverty affects crime actions, or if poverty is high, then crime is also high, and vice versa. It is not wrong if we witness in a number of countries where the poverty rate is always directly proportional to the crime rate in the country. Next, lanjut. Now, the further consequences. If this criminality cannot be handled properly, then there will be security instability. So in the last few weeks, we witnessed it in various media reported high crime rates. And keep in mind that one of the functions of public services provided by the government as regulated in the Constitution is to provide safety. And if this sense of security cannot be obtained by the public, then doing business activities will be filled with uncertainty, because the condition for investors entering a country is a guarantee of security. If the government cannot provide a sense of security, then investor will certainly think of investing. And in Indonesia, one of the functions of public services provided by the government is regulated. The constitution is to provide safe field. Ladies and gentlemen, the impact of security instability is very much. In addition to not good business, of course, various life activities will be fed with a sense of worry and fear. Therefore, this poverty chain, both its position as upstream and downstream, must be really considered by the government. Ladies and gentlemen, besides this poverty, an important factor that must be considered by the government is the existence of social capital. As I explained earlier, because in addition to human capital, physical capital, and financial capital, they are tangible. Social capital is not tangible, but it is needed by the government. Meaning that if there is social capital in the community, it will provide support to the government in setting and implementing various public policies. We are certainly not talking about financial capital owned by the government, because we know that several countries, including Indonesia, have huge debts. We want to focus on the capital we can get in the community itself. The capital that we develop will significantly influence community participation in every development. Ladies and gentlemen, social capital is an important component in fostering community participation. Therefore, in the face of this new normal, dimension of trust that builds social capital is an element that encourages people to voluntarily get involved in every public policy. This means that without public trust in the government's credibility and ability to formulate a policy, the community will become indifferent to the policy. So trust will encourage people to get involved in every public policy. Now, what causes the absence of social capital in the midst of society, especially to the government? One of which is if the government is unable to overcome the problem which experienced by community. The economic crisis that will occur as a result of Covid-19 pandemic has the potential to create social crisis in the community. When people are hungry, they can make someone short thing and then commit a crime. Lanjut, next. Ladies and gentlemen, in the macro context, the potential for social crisis is even greater because government policies are not firm and often confuse the public. This inconsistent government attitude will greatly affect social capital, especially in the relationship between the community and the government. Various policies that are applied also often experience difficulties in applying on the ground due to weak coordination and synchronization between ministries. If the government always does something like that, then it is difficult to get social capital from the community. Even further, there will be a social crisis. Next, lanjut. Ladies and gentlemen, the social crisis will result in conflict and social fragmentation in the country. We will never be finished with the pros and cons of a policy. We will be difficult to get out of the crisis in conflict and friction continue to occur. The government should stand above all groups. Don't always show injustice and inconsistency. Furthermore, if we want to discuss if this economic crisis is unstoppable or cannot be handled properly, it will cause a social crisis and will have an impact on the political crisis. But we hope that the government can take the right steps in every problem, avoid inconsistencies and policy synchronization so that people don't lose their trust in the government. And we can develop social capital in the community so that it grows and can provide positive energy to the policy established and implemented by the government. Ladies and gentlemen, this I can confide, hopefully useful for all of us. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, if you want to have some questions, please write down in the chat column. And we would like to give a certificate in virtual. Would you please share certificate for our speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi, MSc. Here is the certificate awarded to Professor Dr. Muhammad Muliadi, MSc. And it is going to be sent by email very soon.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to continue the program by question and answer session. We have already listened 4 speakers give very clear presentation, and it's time for the speaker to answer some questions. And I have written in a chat column. The first questions is going to be given to Professor Elvira, and I'm going to read all the chat that I have already written. Then Professor Elvira can answer which questions that are going to be questions. The first one from Krisman Damanik asked about that complain about government. People are complaining about government, especially about study from home. And please share the solution. And then the second question from Anton, that many people are in depression now, or depression, and it becomes a serious problem. Can you please tell us what has been done by the government? Yeah, or what should the government do? I mean here, yeah, what should the government do? Because many people are depressed with the situation. And the next question from Angkunaifi, do you think Islamic the alternative answer for this pandemic problem? And there is a prediction. Do you think Indonesian economics will recover quickly? So that's all for the questions for Professor Elvira. Maybe you can answer first before I go to the next speakers. Okay, Professor, the time is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for all the interesting questions. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last one about Islamic something.
Okay.
There was some overlay, but you can repeat it after I answer the first 2, okay?
Yeah,
so the first one is people complain about government and especially studying from home. Unfortunately, there isn't much we can do about that. The only thing that we can affect is how well we teach. So if students are unhappy about the way that we are doing the teaching now, is we can try to find ways to make them interact in this online environment and make the teaching more exciting from them as a listener. But in absence of being able to come to class or come to school, it's just very difficult to do anything else. So we as teachers, as professors, have to be empathetic, try to give them the time and the attention that they need, be there when they have questions and help them with their answers, as well as try to make the learning experience online as engaging as possible. The second question was related to and this was from Anton, who was asking what has been done by the government, what should we do in relation to depression? I don't think the government right now is really working on depression. It is more thinking about solving the immediate crisis, which is the physical health crisis, and then, you know, going on to the economics around it. What we are trying to say with our work is that you can try to do two things at the same time. So while you are looking at, you know, the physical crisis and you're thinking about how to put together economic remedies, you can also think of where you target this money. So one of the most important things that comes out of our work is that people want to have some form of certainty in relation to their employment or their social security. So wherever you can provide certainty, the government should do so. So instead of spending money to help corporations or lower taxes and so on, that does not have as much an impact as helping people to stay at work or providing them more hours of work in another way. So these are sort of the things that we would advise the government to do, and also focusing on the young ones. So older generation seems to be sturdier, stronger, and a little bit less impacted by this particular crisis, but the young ones are the ones that are actually suffering big time. So it's important to put our resources toward the younger generation. Yes, so what was the other question after this one, which I missed?
The questions is about Islamic economic. Do you think Islamic economic is one of the alternatives to solve this problem? And another question is about the prediction. Do you think Indonesian economics will recover quickly? Maybe from your eyes or maybe from your opinion. What do you think about this?
Okay. Thank you. So, frankly, any economics that allows us to be able to, for now, maintain employment is what is the answer to this problem, right? So what one needs to do is one needs to be able to keep going even though they're not making a profit or even if they're making a loss. And so in that sense, yes, the focus of Islamic financing, which is not on profits, but on sort of the shared environment and the shared experience of financing is probably helpful. Now, about the Indonesian economy, Indonesia relies a lot on natural resources, and it is self-sufficient, especially in terms of economic well-being. However, obviously it needs money coming from outside. So I do not see tourism coming back anytime soon. I just flew from Singapore to Sydney, and it was a very well, not an unpleasant experience for me, but basically very shocking to see how there is just no one traveling, and it's just so difficult to maintain standards and cleanliness and safety for everyone at this time that no one will travel. And so that will be a big problem from Indonesia moving forward. As long as Indonesians learn how to live and share their resources within the country, that will be a big plus. So one of the positive things coming out of this is that, you know, people will learn to travel within Indonesia rather than going elsewhere. And I think that will help economically in the future.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. And probably if there are some more questions, then you can do some chat here. Sure. Okay. And the next questions is going to be given to Professor Sida Chandra. I didn't mention his name, but there was a question that how could you understand about some places in Indonesia? Because you mentioned a lot about cities in Indonesia. Professor Siddharth, please.
Well, I did my PhD on Indonesia a long time ago, and I've spent quite a bit of time in Indonesia, but also studying Indonesia. I think you live in a fascinating country with a very rich history and incredible cultural diversity. And so for a foreigner, it's a very interesting country to study. About the geography, the geography of Indonesia is very interesting. It's unique in many ways, geologically and so on, but also epidemiologically. So one of the things that epidemiologists are attracted to is island nations, because the spread of diseases in island nations looks very different from the spread of diseases in countries that are connected by long land borders. And this also makes Indonesia a very special case. I'll give you one example and then end my answer. If you look at a country like India, when the influenza entered India, it went across the country in one big wave. And it's almost a continuous wave going across the country. But in Indonesia, different islands were affected at very different times. And the death toll in different islands was very different. So there are some places in Sulawesi where over 10% of the population died from the influenza. But in places like Java, the number is more like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7%. So it's a very interesting country to study, but thank you for your question.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, because of that, yeah, maybe it more than 1 or 2 years, so you know a lot about Indonesia. Okay, I think there is only one question from Professor Siddharth. And next, there is another question for Akiko. And this question is from Pak Hashim Abdullah. And I'm going to read his question. Hi, Akiko. COVID-19 influences aspect of health, economy, and education. Which aspect that must be first addressed? Or maybe which aspect that must be first solved, yeah? Among health, economic, and education. Which one do you think is the most important? And the second one is how to raise public awareness so that their behavior pays attention to the health protocol. Maybe because this time there are still many people who don't pay attention to the health protocol. Okay, Akiko, please answer the questions.
Hi, thank you very much. You know, the people obviously care about health conditions, but but Japanese government now focus on economy. So, but we are very worried because limited of the medical equipment, you know, even we have maybe more than Indonesia, but we also still have a limited, you know, medical equipment. And then we didn't have a vaccine yet, and the medicine also not yet. So we are really worried about health issues. So people are actually worried about health, but the government more concerned on economy. That's a kind of you know, contradiction. So I think my opinion is have to be clear on the health issues first. But of course, we already discussed, you know, some of the professors also say that economies goes down, and then people cannot eat, cannot, you know, the poor become much more poor. So that's obviously big problem. So for example, another actually, I saw the chat that some of the people say that how you care for the poor people, you know, in Japan. So we have a lot of public assistance from government, but that is also, we cannot like unlimited, you know, cash, you know. So that is also a serious problem in near future in Japan, I think. So then about public awareness, that is kind of from the children, you know. We have to have a kind of the awareness rising. So, but in Japan, especially for the children, younger children, we have a lot of creative way, like singing a song, you know, dancing, but how to wash hand, you know. So since the children, we have to do this. Otherwise, always very strict order, then become very mental, again, another, you know, issue that the mental problem also very, I mean, really serious in Japan too. And then we are very worried, a lot of suicide rate is increased because of the COVID-19. So that's why we have to be very creative. So of course, I don't have a very right answer, but we all have to think about how to overcome this. No? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. That's questions from Pak Hashim. And next, from Bapak Muliadi, there is some questions here that I'm still reading. That there are 3 questions. The first one from Bapak Hashim, and he said that because of coronavirus, many people lost their confidence, he said. And how to overcome this? Because people have lost their confidence. And there is another question from Bapak Daryanto. How can intellectual capital support social capital within public sector? So how to reform Indonesia? Okay, I think that's the first two questions. Later, I'm still reading the other two questions. Yeah, Pak Muliadi, please.
Okay, thank you for your question, Mr. Daryanto. I think furthermore, if we want to discuss if this economic crisis is unstoppable or cannot be handled properly, it will cause a social crisis and will have an impact on the political crisis. Like some developed countries, they are
cannot
able...
hear you. Yeah, maybe your connection, Pak Muliadi.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you, yes.
Okay. Mr. Daryanto, I think furthermore, the first question from Mr. Hasim Abdullah. This inconsistent government attitude will greatly affect social capital, especially in the relationship between the community and the government. And we can develop social capital and the community so the high growth and can provide positive energy to the policies established and implemented by the government. And the second question from Mr. Daryanto, I think furthermore, if one to discuss if this economic crisis is unstoppable or cannot be handled properly, it will cause a social crisis and will have an impact on the political crisis. Like some developed countries, they are able to survive with limited resources because the country has good human resources. This I convey. Thank you.
Okay, and there is another question here from Insinyur Tungga that COVID-19 can be exterminated. Could you explain that economic and business communication must be going on? Can I say that it is a healing effort, he said.
Okay. Okay. I think besides poverty, an important factor that must be considered by the government is the existence of social capital. As I explained earlier, because in addition to human capital, physical capital, and financial capital, they are tangible. Social capital is not tangible, but it is the capital needed by the government. Meaning that if there is social capital in the community, it will provide support to the government in setting and implementing various public policies. And the economic crisis, they will occur a result of COVID-19. That's the potential to create social crisis.
Pak Muliadi, unmute. Yeah, okay. Halo, Pak Muliadi. Unmute.
Masih unmute?
Unmute, please.
Mbak? Mute.
We cannot hear you.
Masih unmute, Bu.
Yeah. We cannot hear you, Pak Muliadi.
From host. Okay.
Halo Pak Muliadi. Pak Muliadi, are you here with us? Oh, maybe the connection is lost, yeah? Sorry, Pak Muliadi, maybe the connection is lost, so I'm going to continue another question. There is another question from Bapak Faisal Halim. Dear Akiko, as we know that COVID-19 take many problems, one of them that a number of people in Japan who have lost their jobs. How the government of Japan overcome to this problem? Please, Akiko.
Yes, thank you. No, and actually I already respond this. We have a public, the assistance, in Japan. So if you you lost the job and you apply to the Japanese government pay for your fee, But of course, many Japanese actually feel like not timid, like a bit. They don't want to apply this, Interestingly, actually we can get the assistance, but many Japanese don't want to apply this because terlalu malu, So actually it is very important to apply and to survive first, So Japanese, I don't know that it is good for, apply to Indonesia, but anyway, Japan, at least we have this kind of social welfare system, but let's see how we can do this, during the COVID-19, because so many people now lost a job. So we cannot, Japanese government cannot provide every single person. So then what happens? So we have to see, we have to think more creatively. Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. When I scroll down, actually there are many questions here. There are still 19 new messages that I haven't read actually. And I'm afraid time is not enough. Time goes by. And I think we are going to finish this question and answer session. So I must finish this question and answer session. And I hope all the speakers can read the chat column or chat discussion, and answer can be given in a chat column or in a chat discussion. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give applause to all speakers that haven't or that have given us in the morning session. Thank you very much, dear all speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to continue the program for session 2, and there will be 3 speakers in session 2. And the first speakers for session 2 is Associate Professor Dr. Niko Irawan, then Associate Professor Dr. Mutia Sobiha, and Dr. Bambang Irawan. The first one, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome keynote speaker 5, Associate Professor Dr. Niko Irawan. And before he give a presentation, let me read his brief personal background. Mr. Niko Irawan is a full-time lecturer at the International College Rajamangala University of Technology, Krungthep, Thailand, or ICUTK. And he has lots of working experience, and I'm going to mention only the last one, that from 2009 until 2020, he is an Assistant Dean International College of Rajamangala University of Technology, Krungthep, or UTK, Thailand. And he's also very active in doing seminar, conference, and he has become many speakers in many international seminar and international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Niko Irawan, and time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you,
for our participant, the Honorable, the Head of Foundation, and the Honorable Chairman of STIAMI. This is the second time I should speak in STIAMI Institute also, but this is the Ilomata International Conference. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for this time. Actually, I have been in Thailand for 6 years, since 2004 until now, and I become a full-time teacher also and the international affair. And I will share my opinion, my knowledge about Thailand, because now Thailand is already recovery after several months in, we faced the pandemic, COVID-19, and until now, yesterday I saw the news that only 187 still admitted in the hospital from 3,258 around cases in Thailand. But I'm so happy in Thailand because some people respect to the government, they obey the government about the COVID-19. When the government announced that there is the one case COVID around the end of January, and everyone in Thailand, including me as a foreigner, also wear the mask, even only one case. And we are hurried to take care of our health, that is very dangerous. Okay, as you know that before COVID-19, that Thailand has the, Industrial Revolution 4.0. They have active in the agriculture and they are active in the light industry, heavy industry until sustainability from the traditional farming and the smart farming. But now everything should be changed. The Thailand must be changed step by step because COVID-19, some Thai people lost the job also. We have the issue about it. And actually, before Corona, before COVID-19, the challenge and the opportunity in Thailand, like Thai people like using mobile phone, Thai people like shopping online, they take the advantage from the Lazada, Shopee, and etc. And when you see the, the e-commerce like King Power, when you come to Suvarnabhumi Airport, I think you need to buy like a perfume from the King Power, and the price is not too bad, and the price is suitable for your pocket money also, and the provider also is the 5G access like AIS, and Thailand takes the advantage from the e-commerce. And this is the prediction of the Bank of Thailand 2019, the economic forecast before COVID-19 happened in Thailand. For the GDP growth is they have a forecast around 4%, and the export, the import 3.8%. And the tourism, Thailand has a lot of tourism. The most income is tourism because they can get more than 20 million a year for the tourists come to Thailand. As you know that Thailand has attractive traditional attractive culture also, and the place also. And when you come to Thailand, the food is not too expensive and suitable with your pocket money. So that's why some people around the world come to Thailand. And also now since 2016, the Thai government tried to implement the halal food, halal center. Like in my university where I work now, they have the halal department as the program study in Indonesia is program study, but they implement for the halal center in the Faculty of Home Economics. I think it's so interesting because they know that the target, marketing target is the foreign people, especially for the Muslim, come to Thailand. Of course, they have difficulty in eating, but if they have a halal food, of course, they are easy to eat. And then, the tragedy of COVID outbreaks. The first, the tragedy of COVID outbreak first in China, Wuhan, right? In China, Wuhan, around December and 8th. And then the end of December, almost New Year, WHO announced that there is the new pneumonia cases until January 1st, and Wuhan wholesale seafood market shut down until the first death in China recorded. And then around January 13, there is a report, a news from Thailand that there is one case, one woman around 70 years old come to Thailand using the taxi, and inside the taxi, they transfer the COVID, and this is a big issue at that time. So around January, before Chinese New Year, the government announced that there is the one case from Thailand, from China, the important case at that time. And then what about this around April, step by step, the government tried to test the people, and they find that in Bangkok itself has a lot of cases. And Chiang Mai, why Bangkok, the color is almost dark. Actually, this red, old red, not too dark, but the Bangkok, so many foreigners come to Bangkok at that time. Chinese people come to Bangkok for traveling, and also Chiang Mai. Both cities, Chiang Mai and Bangkok, are the destination place by the foreigner to visit. And then they try to check step by step, but the other like Lampang and Kampang and the other is not too, the column is not red. So it's the zero COVID. And then they have, the Thai government has to respond. This is the timeline. From the January, they try to activations of DDC, Department of Disease Control and Emergency Operation Control and Information System Control. And from until March, they try to check and they announced the decree, the state of the emergency. You know, the first local transmission until state of emergency decree around 2 months around, start January to March. And then this is the timeline for the period after the Thai government announced the emergency decree, and now we try to reopen again, start 3rd May until now. Now I'm so happy because I can come back to my university, I can teach in the class, but unfortunately, because we have a lot of foreigner students, especially from China, and some Chinese students cannot come to Thailand. So we still have online, like a hybrid learning. Okay, this is the emergency decree, like from the stranded people for tourists stay in Thailand because emergency decree, they don't need to extend the visa and they don't need to pay the fee or like offers or something like that. And you know, the Thai government announced that there is a curfew. In the curfew, every people cannot go outside around 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. If they break the rule, of course, they will pay, or they must be in prison around 1 year, or they must pay around 40,000 bahts. So this is the punishment for the people. So that's why when you come to Thailand last time or stay here, it's like a burial because nobody wants to go outside. They obey the government. They don't want to break the rule. And this is the emergency decree, like do and don't for the people. As we keep have the social distancing, respect distancing when we come to the shopping mall, and also to the university, we should scan the barcode, scan QR, can detect where we are, the location also. And after the emergency decree, the Thai government still approved the extension, the emergency decree, like until May, and in May and June, they try to open step by step, but they have the impact from the partial lockdown. I think I cannot say lockdown because we still can do activities such as we can go to supermarket to buy the logistic, and then we can go to the hospital, but we cannot work at that time. Every field of working or company should work from home. And the result is job prospect map from the 2019 to 2020 has the impact. And this is the job prospect map, and GDP of course decrease. And you know, I just show you that the problem because of the job is melted, and some jobs should be changed for life. Like there is the pilot in Thailand should be changed the job into the GrabFood and also the actors because they need to run the life, of course. So some jobs should be changed for life. But now we face the new normal. In the new normal, of course, we still keep the social distancing, and we use the hand sanitizer when we meet, and we wear the mask, face mask also. And it is the new normal that reduce vulnerability, reduce transmission, reduce contact, reduce infection duration, ensure governance and accountability. So of course, in our new normal here. But when you see the social distancing, the government still, until now, and when you want to come to Thailand, I think it's not possible because the Thai government only allow when you have a work permit or a Thai spouse or study in Thailand, but you need to report to the Thai embassy in Jakarta. And like me, I cannot go back to Indonesia. If I go back to Indonesia, I cannot enter Thailand. So I think I need to stay in Thailand until next year maybe. And this is the impact of new normal, and Thai government announced about the Thai Chandra application. The Chandra application is important for everyone to detect and to check in and to check out, to do the survey also. If there is the one suspected, they are easy to know that, oh, this is the suspected people. And the economic issue, of course, some people try to change the job from like a tour agency. They try to change to sell the hand sanitizer because, you know, the most impact is tourism. Every day they bring a lot of guests from China, from many countries, but because of pandemic and the border still closed, and they cannot do anything again. They cannot run because some hotel need to be closed, and then the tour agency need to be stopped for a while because no guests come to Thailand. Maybe August or September, we wait for the announcement from the government. And what about the new normal for all people? I think in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Korea, in Japan, I think the same situation. I think like you come for work or teaching in the classroom, and now you need to change with the work from home or teaching from home. Oh, so teaching from home, but I should come to the office now because we face the new normal now. And this is the economic recovery. Since starting the 1st June, we need to obey the government. Yes, of course, Thai people must respect to the senior. And when you come to Thailand, we show the hospitality, and it's easy to manage the Thai people actually, because we ourselves obey the government. And every government announced we still obey. So to make better, and we need to eliminate the COVID-19 in Thailand. But Thai companies, Thai governments give the, like the easiness for living, such as refund the deposit for electricity usage, and then low interest loan. This everything should be in for the Thai citizen. Like every month, at the time, every month, it's taken, one people get 5,000 baht in rupiah, maybe around 2 million around. And this is tourism. Now, after the border open, the Thai government still try to manage for the tourism because the high income of government is tourism. From the tourism, Thai citizen, Thai society can hold the entrepreneurship. They can sell the product. They can sell some service, such as when you come to Thailand, they can offer you like guides, to be the guide for you to take to go anywhere in Thailand. And then what about Thai people perspective in new normal? First, everyone should be worried about COVID-19 because you know, we can lose the job. You know, my friends lost the job, even the other lecturer, even they graduate from master or doctor degree, also from abroad, they got the impact and they lose the job. They lose the job, and the pilot lose the job also, but they try to prepare and try to respond. And now, nothing to worry now, because step by step the economic must be better and better. And for the new normal, I think we can save money. We can try to think how to do the entrepreneurship again after COVID-19 and like a post-COVID-19. Yeah, this is the global blueprint, like the technology leadership from pre-COVID and post-COVID, and approach to talent management, way of working. Usually we work full-time and teaching in the classroom. We have a social distancing, and we can take the advantage from the technology like online teaching and etc.
Okay,
So,
1 more minute.
yes.
1 more.
And economic awakening after crisis, like slowly but surely, the restaurant and other like a public parts in Thailand try to open, like a beauty and hair salon also should open. And the government, the Thai government also always obey the government. Thai citizens always obey the government, because from the announcement of the government, it's necessary they obey and they take the good things in the future. Like, what about Thailand now and next and after COVID? I think we still keep the social distancing. We should take care ourselves, and we need to be friendly with COVID-19. I think, thank you so much for my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Give applause to our presenters. And thank you very much. And you will be there in Thailand until next year, yeah?
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, so enjoy your days. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to give a certificate for the presenters, and here is the certificate. Awarded certificate, and this is given to Associate Professor Dr. Niko Irawan. It is going to be sent by email very soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And we are going to continue for the next session is a speech from Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Associate Professor Dr. Mutia Sobiha.
Thank
Before
you. I'm here.
Okay, before you give a presentation, let me read your CV. And her CV is about 26 pages. Wow, so we know that she's very active, and I'm going to make it in short, I'm going to make it in brief. Associate Professor Dr. Mutia Sobiha Abdul Halim finished her Bachelor Business Administration or BBA from University Utara Malaysia in 1999, Master of Business Administration MBA, University Utara Malaysia 2005, PhD Management, University Malaysia Terengganu, December 2008 until November 2012. She's very active in doing research and also joined some academic training in many different places, and has been doing conference in many different places as a presenter. She's also a book author and doing a lot of activities in joining some seminars, courses, training, and other community. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Associate Professor Dr. Mutia Sobiha Abdul Halim. Time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. MC. Assalamualaikum and welcome to the Honorable Professor Dr. Sophie Nomanto, Founding Father Ilomata Foundation, Dr. Norianita Rulandari, General Chair of Ilomata International Conference, other speakers, and audience from several countries. It was a pleasure for me to have a chance by giving speech on how the pandemic of COVID-19 affected our country today. As I specialize in tourism, I will share information regarding on how this pandemic gave a big impact toward tourism industry in Malaysia. I will touch about how the development of sustainable planning to face challenge ahead on tourism industry in Malaysia. First of all, I will touch about how tourism in the world. The tourism industry is one of the foremost service industry and is designed as a crucial source of economic development in the global economy. Tourism is the largest service industry on the planet, employing 260 million people, responsible for 9% of the world GDP, and now having passed the 1 billion mark in arrivals each year. The ability of tourism activities as one of the contributors in improving the foreign exchange rate, creating jobs and business opportunity were also influenced by political, social, society, environment, and culture factors. However, the tourism industry will not only benefit the economy of a country, but able to influence the basis processes, namely the expression, formation of environment and culture. The tourism industry has become an industry that affects the global financial power and exceeds the performance of other economic sectors. The tourism industry has donated about 2,570 billion of 3.2% in the year 2017 and increased by 4.0% in the year 2018 and continues to increase by 3.8% per year from the year 2018 until the year 2028 with a rate of 3,890 billion in 2028 and will contribute 140 million jobs in this industry by the year 2028. Now I will touch about tourism in Malaysia per se. The service sector is an important sector in Malaysia economic development, which account for about 50% of the gross domestic product. The tourism industry is one of the service sector, which is one of the most important contributors to socio-economic development in Malaysia, and is the largest contributor to the country economy after the manufacturing and oil palm sector. This shows that development in international and domestic tourism plays an important role in growth of the tourism industry in Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur is the capital of Malaysia, has been ranked as the 8th city in the world which is preferred by foreign tourists of 11.28 million in 2016. The total numbers of foreign tourists visiting Malaysia in 2017 is about 28.03 million from 29.9 million in 2016. This proves that Malaysia is among the preferred destination for foreign tourists to visit and recognize Asian culture and promoting using the Malaysia Truly Asia brand by the Ministry of Tourism since year 1999 has shown a very effective and internationally recognized impact. Okay, how the sustainable development was linked with environmental and economic issue. Consequently, sustainable development is now considered as a continuum ranging across various types of development. Sustainability and sustainable development have been applied to various sectors of the economy, including tourism. Tourism should be developed in a way that enables the local communities, strengthen the local economy, employs the local workforce, and ecologically sustainable uses of local material, local agriculture, products, and traditional skills. With the growth in the tourism industry, this application of sustainable development in tourism becoming increasingly significant for all the stakeholders such as operators, tourists, and host community. The COVID-19 outbreak has brought Malaysia to a standstill with unpredictable impact on tourism's sustainable industry. Malaysian COVID-19 cases surged after 5 March. The cases increased sharply by 80% to 428 on 15 March, compared to 238 on the 14 March and 908 cases on 1st April. Malaysia joined the list of countries with COVID-19 when the first case was confirmed on 25 January 2020. After discovering that the 14 COVID-19 case in Malaysia occurred through human-to-human transmission, the government started taking even stricter control measures to contain further spread. Tourism in Malaysia planned in order to achieve sustainable tourism impact on the crisis of COVID-19, which respect local communities, increase employment opportunities, preserving natural environment, and provide experience quality to the tourists. New planning and model have to produce impact from pandemic situations and has a range of alternatives to maintain the sustainable of the tourism industry. In which able to still maintain attract tourists, generate tourism development and increase harmony of a tourism destination. This sector of tourism industry is the economic sector that has been hardest hit by COVID-19. It nevertheless offers a rare opportunity for reflections and recalibration to grow again and to grow better for planet and people. Managed responsible tourism can emerge from the current crisis as an even more important contributor to the SDG, Sustainable Development Growth, supporting livelihood and creating opportunities for millions of people around the world and leaving nobody behind. And this program will be the main issue that needs to explore. Okay. The word issue about the COVID-19, we know that the outbreak was first noticed in the city of Wuhan, China. And since the COVID-19 has spread to many countries, cases have been reported in all world regions. By March, it's developed into a global pandemic and was declared as such by the WHO. In only a few months, it has triggered lockdown in dozens of nations and claimed more than 100,000 lives, and the disease continues to spread. Tourism is currently one of the most affected sectors, which impact on both travel supply and demand. And UNWTO has revised its 2020 forecast for international arrivals, and receipts to emphasize that such any predictions are likely to be further revised. This represents an added downside risk in the geopolitical and also and in only a few months it has triggered lockdown in dozens of nations and claimed more than 1,000 lives. Okay. And I will touch about the Malaysian issue. The Malaysian government announced a nationwide lockdown starting from 18 March with the increasing COVID-19 case in the country. Under the movement control order, except essential services, all others is closed. Second phase of the MCO commenced on 1st April until 14 April. The situation affected for Malaysia tourism industry is a major criteria, especially for more vulnerable groups, women and youth. It is also a sector with proven capacity to bounce back and multiple recovery to other sectors. Here I share how the total cases of COVID-19 from January 2020 until July 2020 in Malaysia. We are increasing, but now we still have cases, but not more than 50 cases per day. Annual tourist arrival to Malaysia are approximately 27 million, And Prime Minister of Malaysia announced the outbreak of the COVID-19 has hit the nation tourism sector hard, with an expected loss of around 3.37 billion within the first 2 months of the year. As a result, Malaysian gross domestic product growth for the year is expected to shrink as much as 0.8 to 1.2 points, with a total potential loss of up to 70.3 billion. The estimated total loss in the tourism sector from January to February 2020 was around 3.37 billion. The government estimates Malaysia GDP decreased by 0.8% to 1.2%, a decrease of 10.8 billion to 70.3 billion. The current debates tend to focus how to challenge on tourism sector affected from COVID-19 crisis. Impact from this pandemic need to overcome with action than the planning of sustainable on tourism industry look as a major issues. Coordinate and strong mitigations, recovery plans, and sustainable planning can generate massive return across the whole economy enjoyed. Here I share a comprehensive model for describing the sustainable planning on tourism industry in Malaysia. This is a framework as a guide to achieve sustainable tourism in Malaysia. I would like to share here one by one element regarding this framework. First is about sustainable tourism. Why sustainable is important? Actually, sustainable tourism is to be used from the late 1980s. At that time, the term green tourism was used more widely, and environmental problems such as overpollution and global warming were not apparent. Since the early 1990s, an approach to tourism which recognized the importance of the host community, the way staff are treated, and the desire to maximize the economic benefit of tourism for the host community. Sustainable in tourism include an array of applications including decreasing the cost and increasing the environmental, economic, and social benefit, local community involvement, and satisfying the tourists. With the growth in the tourism industry, this application of sustainable in tourism are becoming increasingly significant for all stakeholders, for example, operators, tourists, and host communities. And we go to the sustainable tourism planning. Sustainable tourism planning requires the informed participations of all relevant stakeholders, as well as strong political leadership to ensure wide participations and consensus building. Achieving sustainable tourism indicators is a continuous process, and it requires constant monitoring of impact, introducing the necessary preventive and corrective measures whenever necessary. Under the sustainable tourism planning, we have a few elements. For example, we have accommodations, how we take care for the accommodation, transportations, and we also have a tourism segment and products. And the other is about sustainable economy. Economic sustainability can refer either to continued success of an economy over time, or more recently to the way an economy operates in a sustainable manner and protecting social and environmental elements. The way the international community has decided to tackle global issues by bringing together economic, environmental, and social dimension in integrated manner, the aim should be balanced, to balance economic prosperity with environmental sustainability and social inclusion and cohesion, and promoting sustainable investment and innovations. Under sustainable economy, we have, for example, industry innovations. We should take care about the decent work and economic growth. And now we touch about sustainable society. A sustainable society is one that ensures the health and vitality of human life and culture and of nature capital for present and future generations. Such a society acts to stop the activities that serve to destroy human life and culture and nature capital, and to encourage those activities that serve to conserve what exists, restore what has been damaged, and prevent human beings from future dire consequences. We have two elements from the sustainable society. It's about good health and well-being and quality of education. And we proceed to the sustainable environment. The term environment is the most general sense, refers to anything to some reference point. In system theory, it's referred to anything external to the perceived or artificial defined boundaries of some system. Ecosystems are population of plants and animals sharing preferred habitats, which interact among themselves as natural communities and with the abiotic components of the environment. From this ecosystem perspective, the environment includes the solar energy and water and minerals that provide life support for living things. Okay. A recommendation from all the theory and the theoretical framework that I'm applying here from my research, we have recommendations. This recommendation aim to support government, the private sector, and the international community in navigating the unparalleled social and economic emergency that is COVID-19. Furthermore, COVID-19 will impact different countries in different ways and in varying degrees. The ability of countries to respond to and recover from this unprecedented crisis will also vary significantly. In Malaysia, we have three stages how to recover from the COVID-19. First phase, we move to managing the crisis and mitigating the impact, which is via protection and incentive for industry players, liquidity support, develop risk and crisis management. And second part is the providing stimulus and accelerating recovery, which is a review tax, information technology skills, employability, recovery plans, and marketing boost strategy. And what we prepare for our tomorrow in a tourism industry, first, we are diversified a market, service, and product, which is diversified tourism to avoid dependence on one single activity or market. Foreign visitors are high value export and must be considered as part of national export promotion programs. At the same time, domestic markets are often the backbone of the sector. We provide more vulnerable communities and groups with the capacity to develop new tourism products and supporting rural regions and disadvantaged communities. Second, we invest in marketing intelligence. Third, prepare tourism risk and crisis as a part national mechanism. Our government create a tourism crisis response mechanism, review all the lessons learned, including the need to improve risk assessment and crisis preparedness with both the public and private sector. We also create tourism emergency plan and fully embrace the principle of crisis preparedness and management in the tourism sector. And we also invest in developed talents, review and update the national tourism human capital strategy. We are set partnership with travel and tourism industry leaders, university, educational centers, digital players, chambers of commerce, and tourism associations to advance new skills for the future of work and to meet the skill needs by the sector.
Time is finished.
And I go to conclusion right now.
Okay.
In a world of dense and closely related supply chains, the impact will be felt not just within the sector itself, but by other sectors such as agriculture, construction, finance, and technology providers. Tourism is a major job creator and lifeline for many economies at all development stages. Okay, as I have reached at the end of my speech, I would like to give a big thanks for hearing my speech, and I hope that my speech will inform you the current situation of tourism industry in Malaysia that affected by this pandemic of COVID-19 and how we overcome this issue in Malaysia. Throughout my speech, I'm grateful if we together can create some ideas in contributing to the solution for this pandemic from several aspects and industry globally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Give applause to our speaker, Dr. Mutia Sobiha. Thank you very much. And it will be continued by a certificate award. Please. And dear participants, as usual, please write down your questions in a chat forum. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the certificate awarded to Associate Professor Dr. Mutia Sobiha.
Thank you.
And it is going to be sent to you by email very soon. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the last keynote speech or speaker 7, Dr. Bambang Irawan. Let's welcome Dr. Bambang Irawan to this international conference. Okay, before Dr. Bambang Irawan give a presentation, let me read his brief CV. He graduated from Public Administration STIAMI in 2006 and continued Master in Administration in 2007 and Master in Management in STIA Gotong Royong. And his doctoral program was from Brawijaya University Malang in 2015. This time, Dr. Bambang Irawan is a Vice Rector in Education, Research, and Quality Assurance 2020 in Institute STIAMI. And he was a lecturer in public policy, public service, and social services. Also, he had experience in academic head and also had a program in administrative science and also had a program in administration program. His academic grade is lector. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Bambang Irawan. Time is yours. Please, Pak Bambang.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Asti. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, my honorable to founder of Ilomata Foundation, Professor Dr. Sapri Nurmantu. My honorable to chairman of this international conference, Dr. Noviana Randari, and all honorable speakers from several countries who has joined this international conference. Okay, last but not least, because I'm the last speaker in this conference, I will make it short, maybe 10 minutes, enough maybe, Ms. Asti?
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, in this session, I will present my stand about adaptation of Indonesian development policy as impact of coronavirus disease in economic and social perspective. Maybe in the presentation before, we have heard about the several country perspective. But in this time, I will share about Indonesian perspective to respond economic and social condition from Indonesia. Okay, as we know, economic growth around the world has been different before because pandemic of COVID-19. In the first quarter in Indonesia, economic growth became slower. We can see in the first quarter in 2019, Indonesian get 5.06%. But for today, in the first quarter in 2020, Indonesian has reached only 2.97%. So the economic growth in Q1 is lower than the same quarter in the last year. This problem is not happen only in Indonesia. We can compare with the several countries around the world like China, USA, Japan, Singapore, and India. The several countries, economic growth in the second quarter have contraction. But Indonesia, in this case, may be more developed in this time because maybe Indonesian have several strategy to respond the COVID-19 impact. Okay, we will see how Indonesian condition in this COVID-19 pandemic. According to the data, until the end of this month, the case in Indonesia for COVID-19 has reached more than 100,000 cases. So it is a problem should be responded from the government. By using large-scale social restriction, in Indonesia it called PSBB, Pembatasan Sosial Berskala Besar, that consider two points should be oriented in this policy response. They are health and economy, because the condition, it will be impact until the end of this year. Indonesian GDP will be predict only 1.4 until 1% in the end of this year. So we have to see this phenomena to make health protocol implementation and make sure we have the problem for this condition and make the program and stimulus for economic recovery and social problem. So we have to move from the ordinary policy to policy adaptation with COVID-19. Okay, what is Indonesian perspective with policy adaptation in the new normal? We call it side by side with COVID-19. Because in this moment, adaptation of development policy in Indonesia has been changed. Indonesia, for the first strategy in this year, focus on health sector, social safety net, and economic security. And then in the next year, will be focused on accelerating economic recovery and social reform after COVID-19. We hope it will be end in this year. Okay. And then there is many perspective as a result of the problem from the COVID-19 pandemic. One of them is called Build Back Better principle. It first introduced by United Nations on United Nations General Assembly in 2016 that used to recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstructive pace after disaster to increase the resilience of nation and community. This is the point. So this program will be focused on reconstruction and reconstruction to increase the resilience of nation and national community. Okay, what is the focus of Build Back Better perspective? It focuses on well-being on the community and inclusiveness. There are three strategies to build the Build Back Better principle in policy adaptation. There are building back stronger, building back faster, and building back more inclusively. So the policy adaptation with Build Back Better focus on well-being and inclusiveness. In the strongest strategy, first, we have to know about the data. From social demographic impact survey COVID-19 by BPS, we can see the change of expenditure of the people. The percentage of respondents according to the change in expenditure, more increase in grocery, food, health, electricity, and internal data packets. It means in the new normal condition, several expenditure will move to the 5 dominant expenditure. We can see the public transportation and food because many social distancing and then many local lockdown have been in Indonesia. We have to understand from the data what kind of policy will be respond from this data. Okay, principle in the stronger build back better is about reduced well-being losses by ensuring that reconstruction of infrastructure can resist more intense events. For the several expenditure, we can change our policy next for food security because of during a pandemic, it can be strengthened by increasing agricultural productivity for diversification and application of appropriate technology in agriculture. In other side, for health security, because many people spend their income to buy like mask and then hand sanitizer, maybe supplement. So health security on facing a pandemic focus on promotive, preventive strengthening and supply side fulfillment. Another aspect may be from the data, so there is no increase but decreasing is about the public transportation. But the policy should be adapt this condition with clean and healthy mobility. Because with clean and healthy mobility, it can support the people or community to more productive, to more have a good performance in this pandemic situation. And the last one, the policy should see about subsidy and incentive policy, because subsidy in tax incentive policy, especially in telecommunication sector, will support all activity in this pandemic condition. Okay, how to make the economic security and social safety net by using policy adaptation will build back better. For faster strategy, we can reduce disaster impact by accelerating reconstruction through measures such as contingent construction plan, pre-approved contract, and financial arrangement. Today, Indonesian government has planned for recovery costs for COVID-19 is about average 695.2 trillion rupiah. There are 5 sectors that priority in recovery cost financing. The first is health sector, and then social protection is the most important and the biggest finance in this recovery cost, 203.9 trillion rupiah. And then incentive for business. And the fourth is micro, small, and medium enterprise, because 90% of business is still in small enterprise. And then corporate financing. And the last is sector, ministry, institution, and local government to support the activity of local government and their community.
1 more minute.
Okay, and the last minute. And the last strategy to make policy adaptation for Build Back Better today is we have to know about which income group are most impacted from this pandemic. According to Social Demographic Impact Survey, in the last months, change of population mobility impact on income consumption have been changed. We can see about the low income, Indonesian standard about 1.8 million, or 120 US dollar a month, 70.5% respondent in the low income claim to have decreased income. So do with the high income, Indonesian standard 7.2 million or $480 a month, 30.35% respondent in the high income group claim to have decreased income too. So the last strategy is how to make our policy more inclusive. The first thing, we have to ensure the post-disaster support reach all affected population group. That's the key point. Who are they? The population group are more exposed, more vulnerable, and less comprehensively support. So the policy should be adapted for this condition are about social aid service, social security, and make proper job from government to the people. Because today, percentage of unemployment compared to workforce in Indonesia called TPT, tingkat pengangguran terbuka, today 4.8 to 5%. In the same time, poverty level 9.2 until 9.7%, and extreme poverty, most poverty people is 3 until 3.5%. Okay, the last quote is, the new normal is not just the new problem, but there is a new hope for us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much. Give applause to Dr. Bambang Irawan. And we are going to continue with certificate award. And now please share the certificate to Dr. Bambang Irawan. And here is the certificate awarded to Dr. Bambang Irawan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Asta.
You're welcome, and it is going to be sent by email very soon. Thank you. Then we are going to continue for question and answer session. And I think I have already written some questions for all presenters. The first one for Bapak Niko, and the question is from Aang Kunaifi. Pak Niko, do you agree that the crisis caused by the COVID-19 outbreak is an alarm for capitalists to be more fair? Okay. And the second questions for Ibu Mutia. This is not questions, actually. This is an expression that Suhardi said, thank you very much for the knowledge you share. And he enjoyed about your useful presentation because he's one of the young generation. So this is just an expression. And the third question from Herlan is going to be given to Pak Bambang. And he's asking about the effectiveness of policy adaptation. Do you think this is good for absorption of the low budget? And you can also read in your chat. Thank you very much. And now, Pak Niko, please answer the questions from Aang Kunaifi.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Aang Kunaifi, for the question. I think COVID-19 outbreaks not only is alarm for capitalists, but also is for all people around the world, because they give the impact to all sectors, such as the economic sector and also the health sector. But for the capitalists, the crisis caused by the COVID outbreak is an alarm for capitalists, yes, because like the entrepreneurship have the impact. This is alarm to manage well before and to have some planning to set up the new management in the new normal, I think. So it's alarm, not only for the capitalists also, but also the teacher also should be aware of the new normal, especially in the technology, how to transfer knowledge to the student also. I think I agree, but I agree it's alarm for all people around the world.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Pak Niko. And for Ibu Mutia, there is another question from Bapak Yaya. Yeah, he's asking about this: why we still need to concern in economic aspect what should government do to manage the economic sector during this pandemic? Okay, please, Ibu Mutia.
Thank you. Okay, the government still need to look at on the economy aspect, because without the economy, some countries will be falling down for the society, for the employment, and will be effect for everything in our country. So that's why within these situations, we need to have a crisis risk and management team to give an advice to our government team, and we need to collaborate together and how we advise our government to prepare for the some in touch about the tourism industry. Even though we are MCO at that time, movement control order, but at the same time, we don't want our players, tourism players, feel affected from this pandemic. That's why we are trying to prepare some incentive and injection the money, and for the workers in hospitality industry, we are not to fire them, but we polish them to be someone with the courses like how to be hospitality, more hospitality, and increasing the skill in terms of digital and so on, so like that. So that's why economic aspect we are looking for, even though in this pandemic time, because we don't want bad effect from this pandemic. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mutia, for the questions. And the last question is going to be answered by Dr. Bambang. Please, please.
Okay, thank you to Mr. Herman Maulana about the effectiveness of policy adapter regarding to the absorption of the budget. Today we have many problem in implementation of government rule about recovery costs for pandemic. The point is we should have priority program, how to spend our recovery costs to the priority program. For example, for social security and social aid. Yeah. Indonesia today, only 4.8% from the GDP for recovery costs. So it means we have to more compete to the other strategy, especially in recovery process. Because without social protection and social service, we have no power to guide our community, especially with COVID-19 impact. In this presentation, in my presentation, I mean 70% our community in low income has been impacted on this pandemic. So the program should deliver to them. Okay, maybe this is my answer. Thank you, Mr. Asti.
Yeah, that's all for the questions, I think, yeah. Because of the time, so we cannot continue for questions and answer session. And ladies and gentlemen, so we have finished all the session for the speaker. Let's give applause to all 7 speakers. Thank you very much. And the next program, we are going to witness virtually MOU of Article Publishing. And now, we are going to see the MOU of Article Publishing between Ilomata International Journal and Serang Raya University. And it is signed by the chief editor of Ilomata International Journal and the dean of Serang Raya University. And there is another MOU between Ilomata International Journal and STIE PGRI Dewantara Jombang. And we are going to see the slide. Yes, here is the virtual MOU of Article Publishing between Chief Editor of Ilomata International Journal and STIE PGRI Dewantara Jombang. Thank you very much. We hope that this cooperation will be better in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finished all the activities, and you know that July is actually the month of Ilomata anniversary, and we are going to watch the Ilomata profile. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch Ilomata profile.
And Dr. Shahrial Yusuf as the co-founder. The purpose of establishing the foundation is to carry out a noble state by actively participating in helping the government's efforts in carrying out development programs to realize national ideals in achieving a just and prosperous society based on Pancasila and the 1945 Constitution, especially through the fields of education and teaching. Ilomata Foundation is located at Pangkalan Asam Raya Street, number 55, Cempaka Putih, Central Jakarta. Foundation Board: Profesor Dr. Safri Nurmantu, MSc, Dr. Haji M. Syahrial Yusuf, MM, MBA, Dr. Insinyur Panji Hendrarso, MM, Sri Martani, SOS. Executive Board: Dr. Andes Amrullah Satoto, SAB, MA, Dr. Andres Jaga Permana, MSc, PhD, Hopi Nurmantu, SOS, MSc, Fakhri Effendi, SA, MSc. Ilomata Foundation is the administrator of the Institute of Social Sciences and Management, STIAMI Institute. Ilomata Foundation itself has a research publication institution, namely the Ilomata International Journal. STIAMI Institute was established in 1983. Vision: to become a noble, leading, and competitive university. Mission: organizing and developing the leading, ethical, and moral education, creating, developing, and disseminating the meaningful and beneficial knowledge to both national and international communities, publicizing the results of research and actions research, and also implementing various scientific innovations to develop professional resources in a sustainable manner. Motto: building intellectuals with moral integrity and ethics. Philosophy: increase the degree of human glory through education by having the positive thinking, sense of belonging, and cooperative traits. STIAMI Institute's organizational culture: religious service, integrity, innovation. Working in tanzans because of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, greeting to each other, enforcing salat in congregation at the early time, performing ZIS, zakat, infak, and sodaqah, pronouncing basmalah, salat, and short sermon in every meeting, keep learning or reading, faith cultivating, praying for each other, Bursary means clean, healthy, effective, and efficient. Neat. Honest, fair, responsible. Continuous improvement. Unique, beneficial. At present, STIAMI has 9 study programs, namely Strata 1 Public Administration, Strata 1 Business Administration, Strata 1 Communication Management, Strata 1 Logistics Management, Strata 1 Hospitality and Tourism, Diploma 3 Taxation, Diploma 3 Business Administration, Diploma 4 Accounting, Strata 2 Administration, Management Structure, Rector, Dr. Insinyur Panji Hendarso, MM. Vice Rector 1, Dr. Bambang Irawan, SOS, MSc, MM. Vice Rector 2, Supriyono, SA, MM. Vice Rector 3, Dr. Chundo Harimurti, ST, MSc. Dean of the Faculty of Administration, Dr. Noviani Tarulandari, SAP, MSc. Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Management, Dr. Eis Komalawati, SOS, MSc. Vocational Director, Dedi Kusna Utama, SO, MSc. Postgraduate Director, Dr. Taufan Maulamin, SA, MAK. The 3 scopes of the journals are Ilomata International Journal of Social Science, Ilomata International Journal of Management, Ilomata International Journal of Tax and Accounting, Ilomata International Journal of Tax and Accounting with ISSN number 27149846, online 27149838, print, is published by Ilomata Foundation. It publishes original scientific papers across the broad spectrum of accounting and taxation. The journal attempts to assist in the understanding of the present and potential liability of accounting, to aid in the recording and interpretation of international economic transactions and taxation practices. Ilomata International Journal of Management with ISSN 27148963, online 27148971, print, is published by Yayasan Ilomata, committed to publishing scholarly, empirical, and theoretical research articles that have a high impact on the management field as a whole. The journal encourages new ideas or new perspectives on existing research. The journal covers such areas as business strategy and policy, organizational behavior, human resource management, organizational theory, entrepreneurship, and research methods. Ilomata International Journal of Social Science with ISSN number 27148998, online 27148988X, print, published by Yayasan Ilomata. It is a double-blind peer-reviewed journal freely available online. The aim is to publish articles that contribute significantly to the body of knowledge. It publishes both theoretical and empirical articles and case studies relating to sociology, political science, history, law in society, and related disciplines. Published articles use scientific research methods, including statistical analysis, case studies, field research, and historical analysis. Vision: to be qualified and leading international journal. Mission: to carry out scientific publications that prioritizes the quality for researchers, professionals, and students from all over the world. For this reason, Ilomata Journal is committed to providing the greatest possible benefits for the development of knowledge in the world by always making a positive contribution in efforts to increase the impact factors, the H index, and the international indexation.
very much. So this is a celebration or anniversary of Ilomata, 41st years. Hopefully, Ilomata will be better in the future, and there will be more activities, both national and international. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and the next program is closing. That is going to be delivered by Chairman of Ilomata Foundation, Dr. Chundo Harimurti. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Asti. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Represent the board chairperson of Ilomata Foundation, Mr. Amrullah Satoto. Allow me to deliver the closing speech on this great occasion. Praise for the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who still provides healthy favors to all of us so that we can still be present at the Ilomata International Conference held today. Greeting, we always pray to our Lord Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May we all get his intercession at the end of the day. Honorable respect to Professor Dr. Safri Normantu as the founding father of Ilomata Foundation, Dr. Panji Hendrarso as rector of STIAM Institute, all vice rectors and leaders of STIAM Institute, chair of Ilomata International Journal, participants from fellow state and private universities, participants from universities in friendly countries, all the speakers, and last but not least, our honorable Mr. and Mrs. lecturers of Institute STIAM. Alhamdulillah, on this good day, we all had organized the Ilomata International Conference with the themes, the COVID-19 impact, innovation, and recovery, which began this morning and then continue with the paper presentation this afternoon. The smooth implementations of Ilomata International Conference today was, of course, thank you for all your support. Ilomata International Journal was born from the pure idea of the chairperson of the Ilomata Foundation Board, and of course, the full support of the founder and trustee of the Ilomata Foundation. The purpose Ilomata International Journal presents is to provide a forum for international and external lecturers to publish articles internationally, provide tangible and beneficial benefits for the people through research articles, and support the STIAM Institute's image in positioning towards go global. And finally, we would like to thank you all for your participation in Ilomata International Conference today. Apologize if the implementation of today is still inconvenience. And last, a happy blessing Idul Adha for all of you who will celebrate tomorrow. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is always bless us all. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, time goes by and we have finished all the morning session. So I would like to say thank you very much for all participants. And we are coming back for presenters that we are going to see each other at around 1:15, yeah, because now it's 1 o'clock, so we have a break, and we are going to continue at about 1:15. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the committee, again, I would like to say thank you very much, and may success will always be with you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sama Mas Konsten. Pakai apa 9 nggak sih? Itu gue pesan di itu.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.